Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of, what do we call it? Startup Conversations with Juan and Craig as we grow, as we develop our companies. I know you've got a lot of success since last time we checked in. We took a brief hiatus because I was at the NIGA show. You were onboarding new customers with new modules. So Juan Romero, CEO of Volante Software, thanks for being here, sir.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you. I guess at some point we should probably put a little bit of effort into naming this thing, right?
Well, it's kind of like the show in our companies. It just keeps developing. It's getting better and better. So maybe one day we'll just hear, one of these names off the cuff and be like, oh, that's it. That's the one. We're keeping that.
Yeah, exactly. When we meet in real life, I think that kind of chemistry and culmination will meet, and we'll name it at that time. We'll save it for a special occasion. But yeah, it's good to see you, man. I know we've been out of pocket for about 3 weeks now or something like that. So yeah, I'm sure we'll have a bunch to talk about. It's good to be here.
Yeah, well, why don't we start with you? I know you've been on the road onboarding some of your new modules that have just been total game changers for your customers. Fill us in. What have you been up to?
Yeah, we've been in the California market going live with 2 products. One of them which had never been deployed before for us at one of the largest properties. And then the second one was a huge installation out in kind of mid California. And yeah, it was resounding success all around, man. I mean, it's one of those things like, they say measure twice, cut once, right? Well, I feel like with that progressive module, we measured 45 times, but it was worth it. When we went to cut, we had no showstoppers. I think we had one issue since we've gone live. It's been about 2 weeks now. The volume that's going through that system is insane. And the customers are very happy. So I don't know. There's nothing more that you can ask for at that point. And then the second go live, we went up to Cache Creek and got them going with another module. And we had their follow-up call today, and no showstoppers and no requests. So no news is good news, I guess, right?
Well, in the news, the other thing you dropped in there was your customers couldn't be happier. So sounds like a successful deployment to me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is we try and get those things, get our feet underneath us when we're putting something out like that for the first or second or third time, and really refine the process. Really, the way I see it is, due to the volume and complexity of those 2 installs, anything we do downstream, now we know what to expect. Now we know what to focus in on, and it's going to get us a lot closer to the endpoint. So it went really well.
Nice. Well, I know you had plans to make it to NIGA, but duty calls, you were on the deployments, and I'm happy to hear it went well. Our show went great. We had a ton of fun. You want me to fill you in?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know, I couldn't wait, just so everyone knows, I couldn't wait for the official time right now. I had to call Craig last week to see how it went. So this is already, I'm sure he'll expound on what he already told me, but I was on pins and needles, man. So let us all know what happened.
Thank you. Well, it was a great time. We went down. We had Katie, our marketing manager, Kale, my co-founder, CTO. He's the tech genius that built everything, him and his team. And then myself, my wife, which was great because this is her first time away from the kids for a while. So we got some fun time in Vegas to, just date kind of, Sure. I did put her to work though. She was in the booth doing stuff. So, and then Oz from Casino Science, who we've been working with, great guy, and his team member Sean. So we had a solid crew over there. We had a booth, and man, the demos could not have gone better. We got a few deals that are going to close quick from the show, and it's just it's nice having a product that demos so well and that we know works. I guess you could say, because I've had products that before, not related to what URComped, TRIO, but I worked for a big company, not even in the casino space, selling software, but it just didn't demo well. And I knew even in our demos, when it actually went live, it would be a lot of customization. It'd take a while to get there. Whereas this, it's I know what we're demoing is going to be live, and they can use it, and they're going to be getting value within a couple weeks. So I think it helps me demo being more with more conviction, because I'm not somebody that could sell ice to Eskimos, that type of person that
Sure.
if I don't believe in it, I'm not going to sell it well. But because we've got something where, in the demo, we're just texting and they're replying and we see the scoreboard update and we click a button and now the trip's booked and like they see it. And especially because so many casinos, the host team is just kind of on an island. They're like, hey, we know we need it and we think it's going well, but there's really no way to tell. They don't know if they have they're equipping their team with the tools to really get the most value out of the team and help them succeed. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. I kind of know what they do, and I know they're working on their cell phone. They say it's working, but and so a tool like this that actually, like TRIO, that actually helps the host team do their jobs better, and gives management like some transparency and to see like, all right, how much business are we driving? How do we get that number up? So anyway, NIGA it was very encouraging for us. I mean, there were some things. Of course, it was our first trade show, and there's a lot of things you learn. Like we decided to bring a projector, and we tested it here in the office, and the office is kind of bright, and we projected. Oh man, it looks great! But you get to the trade show,
Yeah, not the same.
Not nearly. It was way brighter. Just that was something we will do different next time. We'll have a TV. Sure. A few things that we changed, but overall, huge success. The NIGA show was a lot of fun. Great people that came by the booth. It felt like traffic in the mornings was strong, and then at lunch, that was one thing. I think this isn't a NIGA issue. This is more like the Caesars Forum. I think this may have been the first convention that happened at this brand new, expansive, beautiful Caesars Resort, but they're just not resort, convention center. Which is they didn't have any like food offerings there. So a lot of people were, they go, maybe they listen to the panel and they walk the floor and then they get hungry and there's no kind of vendors there. And so people walk out to the strip and eat and then probably have a couple of cocktails and like, I don't feel like going back. So it was really like, it was popping in the morning, lots of great demos. And then in the afternoon, it was a lot of sitting around and reflecting on how the morning went. But it was amazing show, met a lot of great people, made a lot of great contacts. Like I said, ultimately, we've got a few deals that we are looking forward to closing here in the coming weeks.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that it went well. And like you said, I mean, anytime you can get a deal or two out of those things, I've heard such mixed things. So it's great to hear somebody go and say, this really worked out for us, and it looks like it's going to be something that you definitely do in the future, which is encouraging for other people like us that have been on the fence about actually, doing something like that. So I'm glad to hear it, man.
Yeah. And the price point is lower than G2E, and so now it's like, okay, do we want to invest in G2E, which I off the top of my head, I don't know, but I want to say it's like double the cost. And then you have to factor in like, well, there's all this news about Delta variant. So Does that mean, half of G2E isn't going to show up that would otherwise? So like, is your double the investment, you're not going to get double the traffic. And so that's just something that, it's a gamble, right? It's pretty much everything in marketing that you're paying up front, it's a gamble. So that's just something I'm thinking about. Like, we'll definitely be there. Are you planning on being at G2E?
Yeah, we're planning on going, but I mean, it's getting kind of touchy now, like where, you hear all this news about the variant and the cases and, vaccinated, unvaccinated, all that kind of stuff. But, what kind of hit for us is towards the tail end of our trip, all of the properties we were at started buckling down and masks are back there. So I think that, there's probably some longer term implications, and I think the industry isn't going to I think they're going to hunker down a little bit more and quick, faster than maybe I thought they were going to. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yep. We'll see what happens. So obviously that's going to be a factor in, how much we invest in G2E. And if we don't, what's our plan, right? Do we, set up some spot to demo? Because that's the thing with our product. It's like we demo, like some products, I'm not going to name names. It's more like kind of a vaporware. Let me paint the vision and whatever. Like ours, it's like, no, we want to show you, and we want to show you so it's legit. This isn't us like, hey, by 2023 you're gonna have this. It's like, no, by like we're filming this in August. By end of August, by September, your team's gonna be making more money. So like demoing is what we really need to do. And so if we don't have a booth, what do we do? What do we do to
facilitate that?
Make demos happen? Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because there's a huge distinction between painting that vision and actually performing. One of the things that occurred in this last series of like sales trips and that we coincide with go lives was when we were out at the big property, and we're working with the people that do progressives. They do that at graveyard, so they start at 2-3 in the morning taking those meter readings, and it's one of those like how highly volatile times. It's something, if you have a process that by compliance has to be done by a certain time every day and the system goes down, and the time frame that you have to do that is this big, you got to be very responsive, right? And so when we were there, we told the managers on the floor that if they need anything, they call us, right? And they kind of chuckled. They laughed a little bit. They were like, sure, we can call you. It's going to be 3 a.m. And I said, I guarantee you we'll answer the phone. And they just kind of laughed and said, well, we'll see. But we did have one hiccup in the last 2 weeks. And I tell you what, that phone went off, and I think they were more surprised that we answered than that the actual system was down itself. So, where the road, where the rubber meets the road is where it all comes down to. And I think it starts with the demo and then it moves forward. I heard this from one of our sales representatives. They were out meeting with someone, and there's another system that does progressives, or a couple actually out there. So it's not like a brand new process to the gaming world. And it was funny, they were like, well, we don't need your progressives because we have this other product and we're a pilot company for them, property for them. And my salesperson just said, oh, cool, how's that going? And they go, well, there's still, some work to be done. And she said, well, how long has it been? 8 months. I'm like, 8 months? If we can't get it right in 2 weeks, there's a fundamental flaw in what we're trying to do. You know what I mean? And so I think that, setting up since the demo stage to kind of put that foot forward with what you're talking about is, it's not painting a picture, and we talked about this in our last podcast. Put the devices in their hands, show them show them what works in real life, and show them what, from the quality of the demo through the quality of the implementation, through the go live, through the support and the functionality. That's the whole picture right there. And I know that there's a lot of companies, and they're huge, and they're doing things that are probably 50 times more complex than we're doing. But I would hope that when we get to that stage, we don't change our mindset. I mean, just because it's more complex and harder to do doesn't mean it shouldn't be done to the nth degree every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. There is that sunk cost fallacy, where they're like, hey, we're 14 months into this project, but we're starting to see the light. I mean, because it's a real thing that somebody at 14 months ago made the decision, hey, we're going to go with this, and now their reputation is kind of on the line. And that's the hard part. It's like probably in their back of their head, even the front of their head, they know, like, shoot, like we'd be better off cutting bait and like going with Slot Track, going with Trio, but it's going to look really bad to the GM or the tribal council or whoever if I, wave the white flag, say, sorry, we burned thousands of man hours and $100,000 trying to make this work, but now we're going to this. So I kind of get it. And, I know you've early on, we're talking, this is your mindset, and this is like, we're getting more and more swagger now. We're closing deals, and where it's like, somebody sees a demo and they're not like, yeah, I need this, let's go. Then we're just moving on, because it's like the product, like it's very obvious what we do, and it's very obvious, like if you can find value. Some people are like, well, I trust our team. It's not about trust, but whatever. They're like, no, we got things under control. Great. Good luck. If anything changes, call me. Because there's so many that are like, oh yeah, we need this. Yes, I can definitely see how we can like unlock all this revenue. Let's go. And they're almost pulling the sales process forward, which is
sure. Yeah, it's interesting, because here's the thing, though. I mean, I think people might look at it from like a swagger perspective, but I don't see it that way. Because to me, the whole thing is, I mean, it might come off that way, but the whole thing is it's about focusing your energy in a particular direction, right? So do I want to hitch my wagon, or hitch myself to a wagon that I'm trugging through mud, and I expend this much energy, or do I want to hitch it to these two that are already rolling, and now together we're gonna, go full speed? To me, it's not about saying, well, we're too advanced for your property or what. It's just, it's not the right time, right? And to us at this point, it's about focusing on those thoroughbreds, those ones that are going to change the market, and other people will come along when the right time comes. And the other thing is, there's so many factors. We've talked about this in other podcasts, is, and you just brought up a huge point, which is reputation, sunk cost, the man hours that have already gone into something else. Like, that doesn't have anything necessarily to do with your product, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's environmental issues, there's factors, like COVID. We had customers that were all ready to deploy SlotTrack, and then COVID hit and everything stopped. That doesn't have nothing to do with us or their desire to get the product. So, to me, it's about maintaining contact and focusing our energy where the most impact is going to be.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, swagger may be too strong a word, but there is a confidence, because obviously when you start and you're just trying to get conversations.
Sure.
And then when you get a conversation, you're just trying to hold on to it, and they don't show interest, and then you're trying so much because you don't know when the next conversation will come. But then as you realize, okay, you get a system to get more and more conversations, and then you can see like, oh, all right, well, here's what ones that go really well are like, and here's which, the ones that don't fit. And then you can just get enough reps where it's like, okay, I know that 50% are going to be like slam dunks, and the other 50, like you said, then it's a logical equation where it's like, I'm not going to waste my time here because I know they're not going to get anywhere. It's pattern recognition. I've seen enough of people that react this way that I'm just going to move on. But early on, it's just tough to do that because it's like, I don't know when the next one's going to come. I need to just squeeze all the juice out of this line.
Well, I told you this before, the whole thing was that, we used to live and die by every demo when we first started, and that's exactly what you're describing right there. The thing that kind of reset it for us was not only getting that experience, but also we really, sat down and defined. I mean, the company is named Volante. It's flywheel. We talk about not jumping around, right, about this concentrated effort in one direction. What I found was when we were overanalyzing and kind of living and dying by every interaction and trying to be everything to everyone, we were churning. We had set out this vision, and then by holding on too tight, it was pulling us off of where we were actually trying to get, right? So it was like just too much stimuli, too many feelings, too much stuff. When we were able to just go, all right, this is really what the core is for us, and this is where we work well, and we're not going to detract for that. We're not going to chase these clients, this money, these names, and that's super hard to do. I get where you're at, but we did that early on, and it paid a lot of dividends for us because it allowed us to focus what was on most important, both internally and externally. So I know it's easier to say that, and I'm sure in retrospect, if I could go back and talk to myself, that Juan when he would be going, yeah, but look at this cash flow. Don't talk to me like that. So I mean, there's a lot to digest there, but I can tell you from experience that you're definitely on the right track. But yeah, jumping around isn't going to help anything, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like my kid, my 7-year-old is in karate, and it's a white belt. No, it was a white belt. He's yellow. He's an orange belt. And it's eventually, he'll be some belt, and he'll be sparring, and he'll throw like a spinning back kick. I'm like, man, why didn't I do that fight like a year ago? I could.
You didn't know.
It's like, hey, you didn't know. It's like you need to like walk before you run, and
sure.
So I wouldn't change it. Obviously now I'd like to. The demo we have now is so tight, and it's like, man, I wish some of those ones that I probably burned the opportunities because we didn't present it well. I wish I could do it again, but you got to stumble through it. No one's ever gonna, you're not gonna start out perfect. So.
Well, and you're not going to get it back, right? So what's the point in getting all stressed out about it now? Like, that's only going to affect your performance and your mind right now. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. We've all failed at some point. You just got to kind of move on from there. The key is, and it sounds so cliche, right? But it's like, what did you learn, and what are you doing differently now than you did then? And you can count that as a success as well. Like, maybe it wasn't a close, but maybe it fundamentally changed the way you approached your business, the way you presented your business, and those, there's a lot of value in that as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's another thing too, where it's, you don't know, when you don't have enough data points, it's hard to tell if like negative feedback is like, man, I should really listen to this, or actually, no, we're good. And that's just one of that 20% that we're just not going to sell, right? You know what I mean? It's like until you hear 50 customers are like, yeah, love it, let's go. Then you hear some negative, it's like, huh, whatever. I know there's a giant pool, but when in your first few conversations, it's like, oh, is that something serious? Like, do we need to worry about that?
I think what's helped with that though is we've been fortunate that, you know, there's a group of 3 or 4 people in the industry that we've been working with since the start. You know, since Slot Track was conceptual, it wasn't even anything to present to anybody. And you know, I kind of always go back to that group, you know, even if it's indirectly, and say, hey, what do you think about this or this module or whatever. And if that group of people who have kind of been, not only are they established in their careers, but you know, they've been with us this whole time and seen the progression, if they tell me something's wrong with it, then there's something wrong with it, right? So it's like having this kind of group of informal advisors that if you just pitch them something, you can tell by their reaction if you miss completely or if you're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah, it is nice to have that just foundation that, you know, like, all right, this is my sanity check. I can go to them. And for us, it's just the fact that we eat our own dog food. You heard that term? Like, because, you know, the URComped side of the business where TRIO spun out of, that's the testing ground, right?
Sure.
We come up with a new feature and we test it, and it's like, are our hosts more effective? Are they booking more trips? Is response time getting better? And we test it, we refine it, we make sure our hosts like use it, they love it, and only then do we introduce it. So we know it's like by the time we deploy it, that feature with one of our casino customers, it's bulletproof, like it's legit.
Sure.
And you know, and they'll give us some feedback too, because you know, they may be using it just, you know, and there's obviously some things are different with a casino than what URComp does, but just that core end goal of like driving more trips, like we know it works, and we know like, so that's kind of our sanity check. And now as we build a customer base, we know like we can go to people and get valuable, transparent feedback. But
sure.
Anyway,
Yeah, that's always helpful, man. And you know, I think you guys definitely got an awesome advantage there in the fact that not only do you have a testing ground, but you're doing it at a scale that most casinos aren't going to touch, right? I mean, you're talking about the whole world in your URComp side and then packaging that down. So, I mean, the volume that you're doing at the high level isn't going to be supplanted or interrupted by what you're doing at a lower level. It's amazing, man. It's awesome.
Thanks, man. But you know, I know you've got with your customers that we don't name on here, but yeah, I know you're at a scale too where it's like you could test it goes well there, and you know, like, hey, we can go anywhere. So it's nice having that.
Yeah, if they can't break it, if some of our customers that we have can't break it, no one's going to break it. I mean, they're going to do, you know, on the low end, maybe 3 times the volume of some people that are, you know, in the next tier down from them in terms of size, and probably 10 times the volume of some of the other properties that we work with. So it's reassuring, right? And it's been really nice because they have employees that are so dedicated. I mean, there's a one employee in particular that I've been working a lot with on the progressive side. I don't think she sleeps. She's supposed to be on vacation right now. If I showed you my phone, I've gotten about 400 text messages from her today, and you know, just making sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And you know, it's a different animal out there. So if we're able to keep up with them and the things that they're trying to do, and the attention to detail and focus that they put into all their processes, I feel like we're in really good company, and that makes me feel like we're doing something right for sure.
Doing a lot of things right, Juan.
Yeah.
Well, this, as always, been fun, enlightening, and we've got some things we talked about off camera that are going to be in the coming months and quarters, that, you know, maybe some partnership opportunities that I'm really excited about. So everybody stay tuned. 2 weeks from now will be the next Startup Conversations with Juan and Craig. Juan, again, thank you, sir.
Yeah, man, it's great to be here, and I look forward to putting out some of the things we talked about off camera. I think they're going to be significant. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks. All right, take care.
All right.